Like everywhere I go, wherever I travel to in my life, in the journey of my spiritual evolution, my progression throughout my mortality, my existence, I find myself that I could actually vibe and synchronize and align my energy with everyone around me, regardless of who you are, regardless of where I travel to or this, that, or the other. The people that I don't vibe with, or the people that I do not share my sacred time, my energy with, are those who are truly toxic. And even then, in a room full of people, I still feel isolated and alone. So, there was one person who it seemed like she always had a beef out with me all the time. Like she trying to invoke some sort of drama into my life. Always, always. It was my assistant manager who, from then till now, still treated me like I was subservient. I was a lesser of a human being, that I didn't mean anything, that I did not deserve anything. And this person always foreseen it to the very end of my employment, of trying to drive her nails down my back, if you will. Not being sexual or anything, but it's more like treating you like an idiot, treating you worse than a slave, just sitting there and just trying to degrade you, belittle you, whenever and wherever, as much as possible, wherever that she may see fit. Always had a toxic vibe and energy to her, constantly coming to work, having a bad attitude, just finding every possible way to try to incriminate you, or trying to, that quote, misery loves company. It's like one of those people that come in and cannot have a positive day whatsoever. And I was a threat to what it appears like, not only to her, at least to my knowledge, at least according to her, and only to her. I question everybody else's loyalty. I question everybody else around me. I keep my defense perimeter up. I keep my guard up. I keep myself blocked off, and I started becoming distant after a while. Like, I've had my mood swings myself, but 90% of the time, I was optimistic. I was overwhelmingly optimistic. And at least before my father passed away, and I started struggling with my mental health and my fluctuations, my mood swings. I've been going through a lot of my grieving process. Optimistic by doing my job. I worked my ass off, and I was one of the fastest people there. Not to excuse me, not to brag or be boastful or you know arrogant or egotistical by any means, but because I'm naturally, by nature, a hard worker, determined as hell. I believe in myself. When I show up to a job, when I clock in, I know the objective of what is needed and necessary to be done. I've not received a phone call or text message or anything from my ex coworkers. So who am I to them? I have absolutely no idea. Will I ever know? I don't care in the slightest. I don't care to know. And you know, I was in a 5 months being at my previous job. I was never late. That's an honest God truth. I was never late. I was late, perhaps like 1 or 2 minutes late, and that's really about it. Otherwise, I never called out. I was actually strongly considering of calling out because of how sick I was. What led to my termination was they had a 90-day probation period. So obviously, I got hired on July 2nd of 2024 of this year, and I was terminated Monday, November 4th, 3rd or 4th of this year. But I surpassed my 90-day probation period. And I guess what it was, I received I received a complaint from a few of the people that I tried to initially make friends with. And mostly, you know, and it's sad, it's surreal, it's truly fucked up because I still have all the text messages and everything else, but there's not one thing that I ever said wrong or did anything wrong to these people enough for them to file a complaint towards me, and especially with all things considered when I was off the clock. I come into work that following Friday, and I should have called out. My ex-coworkers and my customers given me a sickness, and I thought it was COVID, but it was actually a really bad flu or fever, whatever the fuck one of the two was. But I mean, it was terrible. I felt like I was swallowing broken pieces of shards of glass. I felt like I was tipsy drunk, and I was coughing, I was sneezing, runny nose. My body temperature was freezing. Despite it was like warm inside the building, my body temperature was freezing. So I had to wear this hoodie. And, naturally, given the circumstances of being new, I having a bounce between multitasking between registers, and they want you to knock out the line as quickly as possible and get everybody up out of there. I made the fatal mistake of having to mess up by accident. We're human beings, so accidents and mistakes happen, regretfully, unfortunately. So there was a couple times when I messed up where customers would pay with a credit card and having to wait for the transaction to clear, and it would decline. Some people's cards would decline. Half the time, I take the responsibility to paying for it out of my own pocket, and other times I had to just allow it to be taken out of my check. And that's ultimately what I got in trouble for. What I got terminated for was on that particular Friday, is like towards the end of my shift. There were like two people that I had to decline, two consenting adults, and it was their consent to give me their phone number, exchange contact information or social media or what have you. It was their consent to get to know me, and there was nothing along the lines at all whatsoever of having anything to complain about. They're just making up bullshit in their minds to try to demonize somebody else, just to try to rob and try to fuck up your happiness and your peace, solely because they don't have anything else to do in their own miserable, fucked up, lonely little lives. That these people, they're not even human beings. I don't even acknowledge them as human beings. They're just fucking specimens of dust, who are the material, who mean absolutely nothing. And these people, they have nothing else better to do in their lives except to try to drag you down, and try to drag good people, like, people with a good heart like mine, down. But karma is a lovely bitch, and karma will come around to bite you in the fucking ass. Trust me on that. So for the future reference, I'm no longer making any friends with anyone of any kind whatsoever, except if it's within a lodge. Then that's totally different, because they have done so much more for me than my self-proclaimed best my self-proclaimed best friend of 15 years, or my ex-coworkers, or just anybody else, anybody and everybody else I could ever imagine or think of. From my exes to these toxic women I was talking to. Ain't none of y'all mean a goddamn motherfucking thing to me. Y'all hoes, y'all fucking bitch asses, you don't mean a motherfucking thing to me. And I've got to set the record straight. I've got to put this motherfucker out here. And I've got to say that karma is a real twisted bitch. Karma is a real bitch. When I know myself more than anybody else in this world. God in the universe looks upon me to observe, to hear every action that I take, every word that I speak, and to deliver that upward and downward, as above, so below, into the divine, limitless universe, to throw out my words into the blackness and the voids, to be lost along the constellations of the stars. For those of you who try to decide you want to fuck me over, karma is a bitch. I absolutely promise you. And, I pray for you. God forgive you, or whatever else. God forgive me as well. But, when all I've ever done was to be a good person, to keep my karma straight, to be there for others, and to simply be myself, to be a good person, to have a big heart, to have a good heart, have positive intentions, to have positive goals and aspirations for myself. And all I want to do is change this world for the better. And you got people like this want to fuck you over for no fucking reason, because they see you as a threat to their, you irritate their demons. It was a conspiracy to get rid of me, because I was doing good in my life. I was doing good because I was happy. I was celebrating my happiness and my individuality. I was doing positive things in my community, a lot more than these lazy little parasitic little fuckers who don't want to do nothing to do shit for the community. It's like my so-called best friend. He don't want to do shit. He don't give a fuck about me either. You know what he said? He told me, fuck changing the world. Fuck changing the world. Fuck you too. I would sacrifice our friendship for the sake of, 15 years. I guess a relationship doesn't mean shit. I would sacrifice, and I would be comfortable, as heartbreaking as it would be, in order to change the world. If I had an ultimatum, if I had a choice. And for future reference, I'm just going to keep my guard up. And, I got a little too comfortable, around people. And, from this point forward, I'm just going to just stay in silence. And I'm not going to fuck with people anymore. This was the last straw of it. And just like I said, for my future, it's like I said, my future videos, I'm going to start throwing names. At least for these toxic women who are the customers of mine who complain about me for no fucking reason. Other than you wanted to be a bitch. And that's all it was. You just want to be a fucking douchebag. Well, here's my little taste of me being a fucking douchebag back. I'm going to throw up all the text messages, bullshit, and fucking everything, the whole fucking nine. And starting with you, Tara. Starting with you.